As the court comes into session in the elemental plane of fire, in this massively beautiful gold-plated, jade highlighted, fiery structure, and despite the fact that you're wearing rings of fire protection, it is uncomfortable for you non-denizens, especially you Nalos, feeling as if you have really ended up far from home at this stage. To the high raised dais at the front of the courtroom at the very top of the map are three fire giant lords who are to preside as the tribunal. To your right is your lawyer, whose function is to simply get you this hearing. He doesn't actually have much to do with it. Across from you is Genie Simmons and one of his efreeti guards. To the south, there are two salamander guards just sort of taking up position at the entrances. And at this stage, Blygrog, the Chief Justice, slams his gavel down and says, "Court is now in session to hear the matter of wishes provided by one Genie Simmons to one Mr. Ward." We will hear this proceeding in good order and good faith. Who makes the opening statement for the prosecution?
I will, your high and mighty honor. Nalos will make the opening statement on behalf of Mr. Ward. And
please step forth.
So wishes, and so Nalos walks forward.
All right, so you stand in this sort of clockwork mechanism at the base, and you can see everyone sort of looking at you. And then Chief Justice Blygrog says, "You may proceed when ready."
Thank you, Your Honor. They'll walk up and look around everybody and say, "To your most high and mighty honors, I thank thee for the opportunity to present our case on behalf of Mayor Ward and present to you the argument against Genie Simmons, whose actions stretch beyond the actual intent of Mr. Ward and the cautionary tale that is often seen and quite expected when dealing with matters of wishes. We will review all three wishes by Mr. Ward and the subsequent actions of Genie Simmons that were not only not in the intent of Mr. Ward, but to the direct benefits of Genie Simmons himself, for reasons to be discussed later in our arguments. In opening, I will state all three wishes in our introductory statements. Wish number one, to have the biggest beaver dam ever. On the face of things, it would appear that Genie Simmons delivered on this wish, as requested, with results that met the cautionary tale clause. However, we will argue, your hot ones, that Genie Simmons' actions exceeded this statute to his own benefit and to the harm of the Fey Wild itself. Biggest dam ever? Yes, delivered. Cautionary tale? Yes, the dam blocked the only source of water to the very town where Mr. Worth served as mayor. Over exceeded his boundaries? Yes, with the dam blocking the river, it created a large lake in which Genie Simmons took it upon himself to drain water from the Fey Wild for his own benefit. Our party was quick to discover that this water was being placed into special jars by the Azores under his command. This theft from the Fey Wild would not be possible if not for the ill-fated and selfish, dim-witted wish of Mr. Ward.
Objection. That's hearsay, your honors. I don't recall anyone providing proof that I have stolen anything. Now at this stage, we're going to carry on, and we'll let the other, we'll instruct them to deal with that. Okay. Keep going, Stu. Sorry.
Absolutely. Wish number two, to have more treasure than the Sultan. Again, on the face of it, it appears that this wish was indeed delivered. However, the treasure, however delivered, is not in the possession of Mr. Ward, nor does he have access to this treasure. This lack of access is clearly a breach of contract and well outside the cautionary tale clause. Were he to be buried under a mountain of jewels and coins, or smashed flat under a ton of bricks and gold, then yes, I would agree the clause would have been met. But nay, the treasure is nowhere to be seen, and not even in the fair wild where the plaintiff lives. which leads to argument in wish number 3. The wish that the treasure be kept safe from bandits or anyone who might take it from the woods. Here, I present to the High Court high and mighty honors that this wish, as presented to the court, is in fact erroneous. Upon our very own introduction to Mr. Ward with our adventures, Mr. Ward let us know that, let us know about the first 2 wishes, and then stated Genie Simmons suggested to him that he allow the Genie Sims to take away the treasure that he had wished for, and that very treasure was carted off from the Feywild to the city of Brass for his own purposes.
Objection. There's no proof that I have any use for that treasure.
So I will remind the contract states the grantors of wishes, Genie Simmons, may not induce, cajole, harangue, german, or otherwise confuse or induce the wisher so as to produce an outcome desired by those wishes. But we've heard today that so Genie Simmons did in fact confuse, harangue, and threaten Mr. Ward to get from him the wishes Simmons required for his own plans. I present to you, well, we present to you, to the hot ones, that Genie Simmons not only negatively influenced the wishes of the plaintiff, but manipulated this situation to his own personal benefit. Thank you.
Chief Justice Blygrog and the other justices, Agto and Gabkos, all sort of nod at you, and the Chief Justice says, "Thank you for your opening statement, Mr. Nalos." And Mr. Simmons, it is your turn if you wish to make an opening statement. And Genie Simmons does in fact come down the stairs, glaring at you as you make your way back up the stairs into your post. Genie Simmons addresses the court, looking around, smiling, seeming somewhat comfortable, and says, "Your most high and mighty honors, may it please the court. I am surprised to find myself here. I think it's very, very clear that in the matter of all 3 wishes, I did in fact provide such simple and obvious things to Mr. Ward, the actual wisher, in ways that I think are pleasing to him, and if not, definitely provide the cautionary tale aspect as we do. It is not fun for me to be trapped in a vase for 1,000 years, and I think anyone could understand that. So did I perhaps not see perfectly what he envisioned? Sure, maybe, but I think the wishes stand on their own, and I feel as if I have succeeded and done what I would do. As to the individual allegations and charges, these mortals come from a place of the Feywild, where laws are hardly followed at all, if they even exist. Here in the Plane of Fire, we follow the laws, and I trust the tribunal will see that I have done what I was contracted to do, and done so with aplomb. I thank you, your honors." And he bows, returns to his balcony, and Bill Grog says, "Thank you, Mr. Simmons. We will begin with the first witness relative to the first wish. Prosecution, please proceed. Who will be speaking?"
I will be speaking. And so Shere Khan walks out to where Nalos was. And just kind of set the stage right here. He's going to be pacing back and forth, maybe 5 to 10 steps each direction, tail twitching like a cat who's thinking and intent, and serious. Be making an effort, a very deliberate effort, to meet the eyes of each of the 3 judges, and sort of at various points act as if he's speaking to each of the 3 of them. So I just wanted to kind of define his demeanor for the overall argument.
Cool.
And that's what he's going to be doing. Good. So almighty hot ones, thank you for your kind and prompt attention to these matters. It is my job, my privilege today, to be able to help you adjudicate this matter in a fair way. Genie Simmons has indicated that he provided simple and obvious things in ways that would please Mayor Ward, but we will make the case that that's not actually true. These things had benefits that were negative and would clearly not be something that a responsible mayor would wish for or would want. And the Genie conceded the point that he didn't see Ward's vision perfectly. He conceded that point right in his opening. And based on that, he has a responsibility to make sure he understands his client, and he didn't do that. So the two primary things we're going to prove are that the wishes were to the benefit of Genie Simmons, and they were to the harm and detriment of the Feywild in general, as well as more specifically to the mayor and the town. So in order to prove that harm came and harm was actually conducted against the Feywild, I will be calling two sets of witnesses. The first will be one of the scouts that was sent to investigate where Mayor Ward went, and the second will be one of the townsfolk. And the evidence that these two will be presenting is for harm based on the wish. So I would like to summon Mr. Deer as one of the scouts that came to investigate what happened to Mayor Ward.
And Mr. Deer appears in the witness stand, in the witness box ahead of you.
Okay. And at this point, I will endeavor to look as harmless as a tiger can look when he speaks to a deer.
Tiger with an earring in each ear, by the way.
Mr. Deer, thank you for carving time out of your day to be here for us.
Mr. Deer looks terrified.
Oh dear. All right. So first of all, would you agree that the creation of this exceedingly large but not necessarily biggest dam ever, would you agree that the creation of this dam caused damages to the town and the environment and essentially created a desert from a place that was vibrant before?
Mr. Deer, looking nervously left to right, nods enthusiastically and says, yes, yes, in fact, that's why we were sent to find out what was going on and what had happened to Mr. Ward.
Tell me a little bit more about that, Mr. Deer. What was your mission and what were the details?
We were to find out what had happened to all the water and why our river had dried up and all the land was dying, and why no one had seen Mr. Ward for several weeks at that time.
But you are all powerful creatures. You are hardy. You are capable of surviving. Surely the environment being created into or being transformed into a desert, surely that was not very much of a hardship for you.
Oh, I don't think we are powerful creatures at all. We survive in the Feywild from secrecy and from being in a small corner that is uninteresting to most. But no, we definitely needed the water. It's what keeps our little island safe.
Okay. And can you summarize for me what you discovered in the environment between the town and the location of the decent sized, but not necessarily largest ever beaver dam?
Objection. It's been established in the paperwork that the quote, Genie Simmons did cause to exist something that is probably the largest beaver dam ever. We find that it exists in a location where Mr. Ward was building his own normal sized dam, and that it is beaver-like in construction and method, however absurdly large. The court notes that. Sorry.
It strikes me that the defendant should look up the definition of probably and absurdly to discover whether those mean the biggest ever.
Well, we will take that into account, says the tribunal. Proceed, Mr. Shere Khan.
Excellent. I have no more questions for Mr. Deer. I would like to go ahead and turn him loose and call our next witness.
All right, Mr. Deer, looking rather surprised, suddenly sort of pops out of existence and probably goes back to where he came from. Who's your next witness?
So help me out here, Ken. We got greeted at the gate of that town by a few townsfolk, and I don't remember who any of them are, and I don't have it written down.
We'll say Mr. Bunny.
Okay. Technically, Mr. Bunny was one of the scouts.
We'll just to keep things moving.
Fair enough. Good. I will now call Mr. Bunny, who greeted my companions and I at the gates of the town that Genie Simmons caused damage to.
Mr. Bunny appears on the witness stand.
Excellent.
Looking, if anything, more frightened than Mr. Deer and absolutely shocked at his present location.
So Shere Khan will crouch down and sort of, lay down with all four legs underneath him and attempt to look as unthreatening as possible.
I'm tempted to make you roll an intimidation, but never mind. But there are 3 fire giants hereby, so Shere Khan's looking relatively unthreatening.
Mr. Bunny, thank you for your time today. How are you?
A bit scared, not gonna lie.
Well, I assure you there is nothing here that has any interest in eating you. I had a snack before this proceeding occurred.
That's good.
If you don't mind, I have just a couple of questions for you. Would you mind telling us what the effect of the disappearing water was on your town?
Well, immediately things got stressful, and then after a few weeks, we were going to have to leave. In fact, when you folks showed up, we were calling it off. We were going to move away.
Really? And that's because there was no water? Surely you could have dug a well, or you could have found a different stream and redirected it.
No, we had already dug the well, but it wasn't enough. And also, without the water protecting us, people could just walk into our village.
Okay. I'm going to do my best to make this proceeding as long as possible so I can stress Ken's voice.
The tribunal will strike that last comment.
Good. Okay. Mr. Bunny, can you outline for us exactly what happened in the town as the water began to disappear? More specifically, did anybody get sick, or unfortunately, did anybody pass away?
I think at this stage, Genie Simmons will objection to relevance, and we'll let the court decide if that line of questioning continues. But Mr. Bunny says yes, a number of people got sick and they were taken care of, but no one has died yet.
So it is fair to say, just to make sure I understand you correctly, it is fair to say that harm did befall multiple people in the town directly due to the damming of the water.
Yes, certainly.
Excellent. Thank you. I mean, how unfortunate. Thank you. Glad to hear it.
Are you done with this witness?
Excuse me, I am done with this witness. I would like to release the witness, and I have a couple of closing comments to make, and then I shall turn over the proceedings to one of my esteemed compatriots.
Very good.
So Mr. Bunny disappears?
Disappears.
Okay. Fair enough. So I will say to the court the following. I would like to submit that the testimony given by these two witnesses shows that the result of the wish was not what Mr. Ward intended. It actually directly caused damage and hardship and threatened death. And that was not the intent. So while the dam was created, and it may or may not be the largest ever, and it is a cautionary tale that we should all be careful when dealing with genies, this genie definitely overexceeded his boundaries and threatened the town and directly deceived Mayor Ward. And
Noted.
then I will just kind of give some sort of cat-like bow to the and I will retreat.
Okay, put yourself back up on the balcony as Genie Simmons returns to the witness stand for cross-examination and says, your great hot ones, your most high and mighty honors, I move to strike all comments of the last witnesses, as it clearly states in the rules that during the tribunal, you may make one claim per witness, and you may only call one witness per claim. You may call one witness per claim. And that is all. And he returns to his balcony. Okay. So they'll decide whether or not to take into account one or both of those witnesses. All right. The tribunal turns to you all and says, who makes the next claim?
And Penelope kind of raises her hand as high as she can above the banister.
It goes unnoticed for several minutes.
It goes unnoticed for several minutes. But she slowly makes her way to the witness stand in the middle.
I'm going to say that Baloo carries you because he just woke up.
In the bear Bjorn.
Yeah. So in a baby Bjorn, Penelope, he sets you down. Baloo flops back with his top hat on and kind of was sleeping this whole time while you guys were trial prepping, and is sort of sleepily watching what's going on.
He's all nice and warm and cozy.
Yeah.
Penelope is quite the opposite of Shere Khan. She's not feeling as confident. She's a little nervous, and you can tell she's got her little beaver tail like tucked in front of her as she sits on top of Baloo's belly. And she says, good day, your hot ones, and thank you for providing us this opportunity to encourage the safety and the, I guess, there's a word I'm thinking of, crap, the safety and the reputation of Mr. Ward after these wishes were granted. I will be taking on wish number 2. Mr. Ward wishes to have more treasure than a sultan. At the face end of this, it does seem that he was granted at least 51% of the treasure that is located within any of the sultans on the prime material plane. However, we would argue that Mr. Ward no longer has access to this treasure and will never receive access to this treasure due to the fact that it's been hidden in the elemental plane of fire, which is not safe for many living beings, especially from the Feywild. So if it pleases the court, your hot ones, we would like to call Mr. Genie Simmons to the stand.
Ooh, he says, ooh, check it out. He comes downstairs, doesn't seem nervous at all, gets up on the stage in his super high heel boots. Bam, bring it. What do you got? Ask me.
Hello, Mr. Simmons. It's nice to meet you today.
Is there somebody speaking? Oh, look at that tiny little thing.
I know, I'm so small, and I'm sorry. If you need me to raise my voice, I'll try my best. How are you today, Mr. Simmons?
Doing great, doing great.
Doing great. Wow, that's really, really interesting considering the situation we're in currently. I'm glad that this hasn't fazed you. Can I ask you, sir, how long have you been in this career field?
Good question. 6,000 years.
6,000 years. And how old are you?
Quite a bit older than that.
So what got you into this career field in general?
First of all, I object to this line of questioning as it's not relevant. But second of all, genies typically get trapped in this wishing cycle thing because they did something that offended the Sultan of the City of Brass.
I see. Okay, so 6,000 years is a long time to suffer a consequence like that. Would you agree?
Yeah. Want to find out?
Yeah.
At that point, when he says, want to find out.
Objection?
There you go. Threatening the lawyer.
Yes. Clearly
withdrawn, he says.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I appreciate your honesty. So I feel it's safe to say that you do not enjoy this line of work, correct?
I do not.
Okay. So with that, is there a common or particular wish that you notice occurs more frequently than others?
People usually ask for lots of money.
Okay, so Mr. Ward's case is not very unfamiliar to you then.
Pretty common. First beaver dam ever, though.
Yeah, I would
say
which was interesting. A unique one.
Yeah.
If somebody wishes for lots of treasure, what usually comes after that wish?
Well, usually they wish for lots of treasure and then they spend it.
Okay. In this case, did Mr. Ward, or can you explain to me rather, what happened after Mr. Ward wished for the treasure?
A giant pile of treasure, bigger than 51% of the treasure that sultans have on the prime material plane, appeared at his feet, as promised. Gold, silver, scepters, gems, jewelry.
I see.
And then there it was, sitting right out in the middle of the woods. You know, normally people ask for like a mansion first, and then the treasure goes in the mansion. He didn't have anywhere in his beaver dam to put the treasure. So, you know, what were we to do? He seemed pretty worried about it.
He seemed worried. Can you elaborate?
To me, he did. He was sort of running around the little pile, his little stupid feet moving super fast, a dumb sort of vapid look on his face.
Sorry, Penelope's not laughing. This is me.
But he's pretty much drooling, you know, lack of intelligence, you know, picking things up and, you know, and I'm like, what are you going to do with all this stuff?
It must be quite overwhelming for a mere mortal such as Mr. Ward to come upon as much treasure as you were so generously able to provide.
Sure. Seems like a first world problem to me. Just saying.
It really does. Yeah, it does. After you noticed Mr. Ward getting worried about the treasure when seeming to get a little overwhelmed, can you explain to me what happened then?
If I recall, he said something about what if someone comes along and takes some of it? And I said, well, you got one wish left. We could make it so that no one could take any of it. And then he made his third wish, which was, if I recall, I wish the treasure to be kept safe from bandits or anyone who might take it from the woods here.
I see. So would you agree that this was a suggestion on your part?
Did I suggest to him? Well, he didn't specify what safe meant.
I see.
Yeah, I may have suggested that, you know, a big pile of treasure in the middle of the forest is probably not the safest place for it. But, you know, I don't actually state whatever wish they're going to make before they make it.
But this suggestion could have implied that he should keep the treasure safe.
Sure, maybe.
Okay. Would you say that you've ever made suggestions in previous wish granting scenarios to any of your other clients?
Oh, sure. They all ask, what should I wish for?
Mhm. Okay.
And we often give advice, though we cannot tell them what to wish for.
I see. I see. Okay. Um, have you ever heard of any other genie making suggestions or making interpretations of what clients should do with their wishes?
Oh, I think it's pretty standard practice most of the time to essentially, if you're a genie such as myself from the fire plane, we are given a certain amount of leeway to interpret what is asked for and provide something that's not entirely what was asked for, but is along the spirits of those things. However, oh, I'm sorry, could you say the question again?
Yes. Would you say that any other genies that you have come across also make suggestions or interpretations as to what a client should potentially wish for or could potentially wish for?
Well, I would say that I haven't come across other genies as we tend to be like magnets and repel apart from one another. We don't tend to occupy the same spaces, but I've probably heard the same stories you have. And sure, certain genies find certain wishes to be distasteful or others to be more satisfactory. So sure, I would say that that happens.
So when you make those suggestions, you would not agree that those suggestions are out of compliance with your contract that is listed in your vase. Said contract, and I quote, "The grantor of wishes, Genie Simmons, may not induce, cajole, harangue, gerrymand, or otherwise confuse or induce the wisher so as to produce an outcome desired by other than the wisher." You wouldn't say you had any outcome in this case scenario that was not in the desire of Mr. Ward.
Obviously, I don't believe I did.
Okay. Would other genies say that you did?
Well, that's what the tribunal is for.
I see. So now I move to my next set of questions. Thank you for your patience. Would you say that Mr. Ward has full and unlimited access to this treasure?
No.
No. So, was he provided any information on how to retrieve said treasure?
Mr. Ward I wished the treasure to be kept safe from bandits or anyone who might take it from the woods here. As he was in the woods, he is anyone, and therefore the treasure is kept safe from him.
I see.
Irony achieved, bitches.
And because of that, I would like to know why you would choose the elemental plane of fire to store.
That's my home. Where my palace is.
But in order to get the treasure there, what did you have to do?
Well, I had to make a portal. This is all established in the brief, but I had to make 2 portals to a pocket dimension, and yeah, have my automatons carry it physically to my palace, where it is safe and no one in those woods can get to it.
Yes, I understand. But there is another thing that you are carrying through these portals, is there not?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, where is all of the excess water from the river going?
Oh, it's flowing through, through the portal we created. It's sort of whirlpooling its way into the elemental plane of fire. But it's not being carried.
To my recollection, there's a whirlpool in the lake, and then there's a portal on the side of the lake. Why 2 portals?
Why not? More efficient.
More efficient, but it's wasting a lot of water that belongs to the Feywild.
incidental collateral damage. You can't make an egg without breaking a few omelets. You know what I mean?
I guess that could be true. But Fey water can or does have some magical properties, does it not?
Oh yes, that's well known, especially here in the fire plane.
Can you list some of those magical properties?
Gets rid of heartburn, causes people to have better breath. It's also highly sought after just to have it, because here on the fire plane, if visitors are here, they as you are discovering, I'm sure, that it's super fucking hot here, and having a nice cool drink once in a while is very refreshing.
Yeah, and actually, now that I think of it, when we moved through that portal, we were all healed, strangely.
Yeah, that's weird.
Can I pause really quick and let
Yeah.
Charlie back in? Okay, thanks. So we came through and we were healed, which I feel is very interesting. So you say it cures heartburn, people want it just to have it, but those seem like pretty basic and not very important qualities of the water for people to want it so desperately.
Is there a question in there?
I'm not sure. Are you sure there's no more information that you can provide as to what this water does and how it can benefit you?
Objection. Badgering the witness.
But I'm
And no, my counselor, I don't have any further relevant information about the water. Sorry. I also can remain silent if I wish.
That is true. That's very true. But luckily for you, I don't believe I have any more questions for you today. I want to thank you for your time and for your patience while I made my way down here. I know I am quite small, but I appreciate the patience nonetheless. So, Mr. Genie Simmons, you are released.
He gives you the double thumbs up and then cross-examines himself. Another copy of Genie Simmons appears in the witness stand. There's one in the witness stand and there's one in on the clockwork stage, and says, Mr. Simmons, yes, Mr. Simmons, you're looking extremely hot today and fine. Yes, I appreciate it. Same to you. Do you think that you did a really good job with wish number 2 and number 3? I think they were the best possibly I've ever done, because not only did I keep him from getting the treasure he wished for, I got to keep it myself, and that's just cool. I'm sorry, it's just super cool, and I'm pretty freaking proud of myself. No further questions. And then he returns to being just one person and returns to his witness stand. Would you guys like to take a 5-minute recess, which won't count against you, just to bring Tanis up to speed?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so actually, Stu, you have the best hold on this, I think, out of all of us.
I'm typing badly. It's like
Okay.
stuff to my nose. Go ahead.
We got you.
I texted them a really, really short summary of what we're doing, but it was very short.
I
So
emailed you something
basically-
too, Tanis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did read that as I was joining.
Okay.
So basically, we have one more argument left. Nalos is going to take it for wish 3. And essentially, we're arguing what Stu sent to us in that email. And Mr. Ward, the Badger, is our last witness that we're calling to the stand. I don't know if there's really much else, because and also I'm sorry you guys, I missed your texts. I had my phone over on the other side, so dang it, Damon, I forgot about that last bit. I didn't catch it, but yeah, otherwise I think it's going pretty well so far.
Cool.
Complete. I watched a lot of Law and Order.
I think it was really good. Putting your dad on the stand like that.
Thank you.
That's good. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I'm typing up a kind of a summary of the three. I'm like, crap, I need a closing statement now.
Just let me know when you guys are ready to reconvene.
Okay, one moment.
Can I do my closing statements while Stu, or can I do a closing statement while Stu gets this typed up?
Oh yeah. Or actually, did she do that before or after?
I haven't done it after, but I mean, I can just make something up. I didn't really have one planned, but
you can rebut his cross-examination of himself.
I don't really want to rebut it because I don't want to waste one of them if we don't really need to. But basically, I was just gonna say that with the facts presented, Mr. Ward does not have full and unlimited access to his treasure that he wished for that belongs to him. And this is breaching the clause of Genie Simmons' contract that the grantor of wishes cannot confuse or induce the wisher so as to produce an outcome desired other than the wisher. And scene.
All right, are we back?
We're back.
Oh, do you want to? I'm sorry, Katie. Do you want to make your post statement?
I kind of did just general, like, Mr. Ward did not have unlimited and full access to the treasure, and that violates the clause in the contract in Genie Simmons' lamp, etc., and see is what
Do we before we start to Damon or you guys want to do any other kind of quick summary or sidebar or whatever? I can't think of the term now here. My phone's like
Caucus.
Yeah. Are we good to go?
I don't have
anything.
Okay. All right. We'll continue. And Nalos will walk forward and take the place where Penelope was standing, and if it pleases your hot ones, I'd like to call forth Mr. Ward as a next witness.
And he appears shivering and frightened in the witness box.
Good day, Mr. Ward. You may remember me. My name is Nalos, and we met not that long ago as we were investigating what had happened with your dam and the water of your town. If you please, please identify yourself again for the court.
I am Mr. Ward. I am a beaver, and I am the mayor of the town of Whitby.
And so, how long have you been the mayor of Whitby?
Ooh, 3 years, I suppose.
And how long have you lived in the Feywild?
Oh, my whole life.
Oh, how long is that?
I think I'm about 30 years old.
Okay. So you have an important job now as mayor.
I do.
Well, tell us, how did you come upon the vessel that it contained Genie Simmons?
Well, I had taken a sabbatical, some time off from my job as mayor, and returned to the little clearing where the creek comes through and turns into a river, and decided to work on a dam. And when I was in the water collecting the materials, I came across this large, well, that's it up there on the balcony, that thing, and I drug it into my little house and began to clean it. And as I cleaned it, smoke and fire billowed forth, and then he points up on the other balcony. That fellow Genie Simmons appeared and said that I would be granted 3 wishes.
Sorry, I'm very.
You could point him over there. He's kind of the big guy, right? That's the one you're talking about.
That's him.
Okay. And so I'm not being a beaver, tell us what's the purpose of building a dam? What was your intent of doing that at the river?
Well, it's sort of a thing that we do. Our teeth keep growing unless we chew, and we have to wear them down. So my teeth were getting pretty long. Had been a while, so I just decided I'm just going to do this thing. It's kind of a compulsion when you're a beaver, right? Like you not 100% sure why we do it, but it is a thing that is most enjoyable for us.
Was it your intent then to block off the entire river and cut off all water to the town Whidbey below?
No, I like to make little pockets, like small little lakes, that kind of thing. But no, it would have kept going. It would have been pretty small.
Oh, okay. So when you made your wish, your intent wasn't to actually cut off all access to the town and basically choke them out of water and
I don't
cause
think
them
so. I
demise.
don't see any reason to do that. I mean, I was on vacation, so I was really having a good time until all this happened.
Okay. And what about the whirlpool that's in the lake that was created? Was that your intent to drain water from the Feywild into the city of Brass and here in the elemental plane of fire, and steal property of the Fey to take down here?
I'm not entirely sure where here is. He looks around.
We're in the city of Brass in the elemental plane of fire.
Yeah, is that any of that water available now? He's like wiping at his brow. No, I certainly I didn't even really quite realize what the whirlpool was about. I did follow the creatures carrying the treasure, and then I think you found me down in that weird chamber, and yes, I haven't been able to think of a way to undo any of this.
Oh, okay. So in talking about that, then your first wish, as you said, you haven't been able to undo any of this. So are you saying that you're not satisfied with the outcomes of those wishes?
Just as he's about to answer, Genie Simmons says, "Objection. Wish number 1 and 2 have already been litigated."
I am clearly just asking the plaintiff in the case of his opinion of the situation.
The
He's
judiciary
himself that he's not been able to undo anything.
The tribunal will consider this matter, whether to sustain or overrule, but you may proceed. Mr. Ward, the beaver, says, "I am very confused, and if I had one more wish, I would wish I never found the vase."
Well, let's talk about that then. Apparently, shall we? So when we're talking about your third wish, we identified the first 2 wishes was for the dam, and the second wish was for this huge pile of treasure that you were to receive. And then have you seen that treasure since?
I saw it being carried away.
And so was it your intent to have it carried away and taken away from your home and from the very plane of existence where you live in the Feywild?
Certainly not. And
Okay.
so objection again, and same thing. So
and how many times have you seen the treasure since?
I just saw the pile getting smaller and smaller. And then I think the last of it was being carried when you folks showed up.
So you don't actually know how much you had to begin with?
Not really. It was a big pile, and also we don't really spend money in the Feywild, so I'm not really sure why I wished for that.
Was that suggested to you?
I believe so. That most people wish for a big pile of treasure.
Yeah, we heard that earlier, didn't we? But maybe a treasure for a beaver would be different than, oh, I know, an efreeti or a genie, wouldn't it?
I agree. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah. Okay, boy, it's pretty confusing. Sounds to me. So when we met you at the pool of water that was being drained into the city of Brass, and it sounds like you said here today too that Genie Simmons actually suggested this third wish for you, that the treasure be removed for, yes, we'll say the word safety, but does that sound accurate?
Yes, so there's this big pile of treasure, and I was like looking at it sort of, I mean, it's shiny and interesting, and I do like shiny little bits and bobs, but yes, he pointed out, I think that you know, anybody could just come along and take it, bandits or whatever. And so I said, "Oh, that's bad." And he said, you better make sure that your last wish doesn't waste your second wish," which made sense. And then I remember just wishing that it would be safe, but I can't remember exactly what I said.
Well, it seemed for a moment that he was being kind of thoughtful, huh? That
Yeah, like he was looking
would
at.
give you a suggestion, but it sounds kind of confusing too, how that all came about.
Yes, I was confused the whole time.
Okay, the whole time. Wow, that's a difficult situation to be in, I would think. So you pointed out the Genie Simmons up on the balcony over there, correct?
Yes.
And Kenny, I would say he's probably about 100 feet away, 200 feet away in this large
Yeah,
place.
yeah, it's a huge chamber, you know.
Yeah.
Vast.
So I say he's
Labyrinth.
the great big red guy over there, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
we can see
Black
him
hair.
clearly from this distance. I imagine when you were talking to him at the lake, he was right in front of you.
Yes.
He's a kind of an imposing presence, wouldn't you say?
Well, when you're me, most things are imposing,
Yes.
but he's
Right.
even more so. Yeah.
And probably giving off an amount of heat as well.
It wasn't unlike standing in this courtroom.
Which I can imagine, being somebody who's not from this place, can be a little intimidating.
Yes, yes, sir.
Would you say that so standing in front of Genie Simmons was an intimidating experience for you?
It certainly was.
Did you feel that he pressured you into making your decisions?
He's about to answer when Genie Simmons says, "Objection." What he felt is not necessarily what actually happened. So again, tribunal will decide. But Mr. Beaver says, yes, he definitely seemed to be in a hurry and wanted me to make my wishes happen very quickly, one after the other.
And I would argue to the hot ones that this is quite relevant to the case, in that the Genie Simmons decision to pressure impacted the outcome. I'll discuss more later. So one last question, Mayor Ward. This being your third and very last wish, what would you really want to wish for if you could do that one again?
I think, as I said, I would just not have found the vase at all. I would wish to be back to normal.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your time today. No more questions.
Okay. You vacate the clockwork stand, and then Genie Simmons comes down to cross-examine the witness and says, "Mr. Beaver, as we've met before, and we already know one another, I will have just one question for you. This whole experience, meeting me, having three wishes, and you've stated that you would, if you had just one more, you would wish to have not have even found the thing. But all that aside, would you say that you have learned something from this whole interaction, and that you are a wiser and perhaps better person because of it?" And Mr. Beaver says, "Well, yes, I suppose I have. No further questions, your hot ones." And he returns to his balcony. Okay, we have reached the matter of closing arguments.
I think it's a good time to take one of our
Caucuses?
opportunities to
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
to do the thing
I will start a 15-minute timer.
with my compatriots here.
Cool.
All right. So in the closing statement, I was going to review the wishes we talked about, the damaging, how damaging the dam is, and creating opportunity for Genie Simmons to steal water from the Feywild. I love the fact that Genie Simmons said, I got to keep it to myself, all the treasure. So he just, to me, he's admitting fault and actually stealing the treasure for his own benefit. That's got to be a breach of contract. And then, of course, at the end, Mr. Ward was saying this feeling, he used the term confused like 3 times in discussion of the third wish. And I think it's a breach of contract indeed to not cajole, harangue, german, or otherwise confuse or induce the wish, or it even says so in the contract itself. So I think that's a good argument right there. But please let me know what else you guys want me to say or talk about.
I think the grantor of wishes, Genie Simmons, I think that specific part of the contract, that clause, is our biggest argument. I agree. Whether he's using the treasure as a means of distraction for getting the Fey water or vice versa or whatever, there's clearly something that he wants out of this. And with the information that we have, he's been here for 6,000 years. He's probably not thrilled to be here in this position of slavery, so that could be a means of what's the word, probable cause as to why he could have been doing this, or there's a specific word that I'm thinking of and I can't think of it, but it's in reference to the reasoning as to why somebody commits a crime. But that word, I'll think of it.
Are you thinking of motive?
Motive, thank you. Yes, his motive was to, in some way or another, gain something from this, which could have been the water, I think.
Yeah, so we even talk about that we've actually seen the bottled water process happening,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think emphasizing the water is definitely important for this.
Yeah.
It's like he found a Nestle.
But yeah, I think the motive is what's gonna sell this the hardest.
Okay.
Yeah, that and the coercion that goes along with it.
Yes.
Mr. Ward was in an abusive relationship with Mr. Genie Simmons at the time. His their conversations were emotionally abusive and coercive at the same time. That was really fun though.
All right. Is there anything else, guys, I want to talk about?
Yeah, I think that pulls it together pretty well.
Yeah, I didn't really bring up anything. I forgot to ask some questions about how Genie Simmons is an intimidating person to be around, but you covered that, Stu.
Yeah, thank you. I thought that was important for those two.
Yeah.
Write that down.
I think also the outcome from Wish 1 too, like Mr. Ward certainly wouldn't want his villagers to suffer at the hand of his wish. I think that could be an important part too. It's not 100% most important thing.
It's Whitby is a town?
Yeah,
Yes.
WHITBY.
WHITBY Whitby.
Ready for closing arguments?
As ready as I'm gonna be, man.
Okay. So we're gonna move Mr. Beaver back up onto the balcony next to you guys. Nalos, as you walk past the giant gold dragon, Ditcher Quick and Hyde, he whispers, "I think you're doing a good job. Keep going."
Nails will kind of look up and nod.
Yeah. So like his front claw is as big as your whole body, and when he tries to whisper, it kind of rumbles and echoes through the lava because his voice
Okay,
is
hold
so
on one
powerful.
second. Let's see. Where did I? Okay, there we go.
But he kind of flapping his wings kind of makes more sense. Crunch for me to be over here. I'm sorry, it makes room for you guys over here.
All right. My numbering is all off, but I guess I'll have to deal with that. All right. Cool. Closing arguments.
You're absolutely, Nalos, you're absolutely going to be suffering from 1 to 4 levels of exhaustion because you're a Triton in the fire plane. Luckily,
Yes.
it doesn't matter.
Yes. I could use one of those bottles of fake
Yeah.
water right now. Maybe I mentioned that. All right. Thank you. Your hot ones. I'll present in our closing argument that Genie Simmons will not only negatively influence the wishes of the plaintiff, but manipulated the situation to his own personal benefit. From today's court proceedings, we can clearly see that Mr. Ward never stood a chance and never had an opportunity to make 3 wishes as he would have liked. Wish number 1, for the biggest dam that he'd ever seen. And in fact, the dam would damage the livelihoods and indeed lives of the residents of Whitby, where he serves as mayor. This created an opportunity and action for Genie Simmons to steal water from the Feywild, to bring it down here to the elemental plane of fire, where it's been established has great value to the residents here and personal value to Genie Simmons. In our time here, we've actually seen the water come in and being bottled by his Azure slaves. So certainly to his benefit. The second wish was to have the treasure of the Sultans. And yes, he got the treasure. And then it was immediately taken from him. And as Genie Simmons said, and during his very own cross-examination with himself, admitted that he stole the treasure from Mr. Ward and was quite pleased with that he gets a benefit from it personally. This clearly is a direct breach of contract. This is not just a cautionary tale, but something where he is stealing the treasure from his wisher, if you will. And as stated by Mayor Ward himself, that he really wasn't interested in wishing for treasure, gems and jewels and coin. As a beaver, that's really not of importance to him, but something that was influenced negatively by Genie Simmons. And thirdly, to keep this treasure safe, we confirm that Genie Simmons negatively influenced the decision of Mr. Ward, again in breach of contract, and indeed threatened, intimidated Mr. Ward to make the wishes that were made in a rapid fashion, rushing him to do so for wishes that really did not benefit him, that he was never really interested in the beginning. I'll remind the court that the contract states that the grantor of wishes, Genie Simmons, may not induce, cajole, harangue, germain, or otherwise confuse or induce the wishers so as to produce an outcome desired by other than the wisher. Clearly, in the conversation today, the outcome was not of that desired by the wisher. And as the grantor of wishers, Genie Simmons did in fact confuse Mayor Ward into making the wishes for things that he was not really concerned about. I think Mayor Ward used the term confusing 2 or 3 times in our conversation during the examination. What we heard here today showed that Genie Simmons did in fact confuse, harangue, rush, and intimidate Mr. Ward to get from him the wishes Genie Simmons required for his own nefarious plans. Is the nature is that the nature of the law here of the elemental plane of fire? I need to ask. Are wishes here to be trifled with without any consideration of the person making the wishes? Are they bits of parchment that can be destroyed in an instant by fire or a gun and puff of smoke? Clearly, I'm a humble visitor to your fine city, and he's nails will show his, blue skin, his tridents and fins on his person. And as you imagine, I'm more familiar with the dealings on the elemental plane of water. But I assure you, where I come from, wishes are taken most seriously and are made and granted based on the will and intent of the one making the wishes, and not the personal and selfish interests of the genie or efreeti himself. Coming to the legendary city of brass, I was expecting similar high and exceptional standards. Perhaps I was mistaken. Was Mr. Ward selfish in his wishes? Were his wishes simple-minded and ill thought out? Yes. Was he deserving of a cautionary tale based on his simple-minded wish for a giant dam and great wealth? Of course. Was he a foolish pawn identified by Genie Simmons so Simmons could take advantage of Ward's wishes for the efreet's own benefit? Yes, indeed he was. I can speak for our own party. I've seen the water coming through the plane of fire and being bottled by Genie Simmons as our slaves. I would argue, or he's our slaves, pardon me. I would also argue that the selfish behavior of Genie Simmons is putting the entire city of brass at risk from Queen Titiana of the Fey Wild. The outright theft of Fey water and magic will certainly not go unnoticed and present political challenges for your fair city. If not properly addressed, Genie Simmons' actions could have negative consequences for many of your citizens. Mind you, I'm no representative of Queen Titiana or leadership of the Feywild. However, I'm certainly in a position to present to the court that you all here may be writing your own, very own cautionary tale due to Genie Simmons' violation of Mr. Ward's wishes. We move the courts to strike all three wishes, deem them as void and invalid, to be reversed immediately for Mr. Ward. The plaintiff rests.
And you receive a bow from the three members of the tribunal. And for his closing statements, Genie Simmons moves into position. And you don't like being close to him, so you haul ass away. He's, mind you, like a 12.5-foot tall efreeti. And that's without the heels. He addresses the court. You're hot ones. No one here, apart from myself, knows what it's like to be a genie, tasked with granting wishes on the one hand, but pressured to come up with some ironic interpretation of the wishes. It is not easy. I'd like to see any one of you try it. Let's see. As for the first wish, a big dam which harmed his town and his friends. So what? It's a cautionary tale. He should have been more careful with his wish. The treasure. Everybody wishes for treasure. Move the treasure. It was a pile of treasure in the forest. If I had not taken it to my castle, then some other being would have come along and taken it. Or worse, what if a rumor of such treasure were to spread to the larger world? Who knows what sort of violence and mayhem would have resulted? Today, much has been made of the idea of me taking the treasure or me pressuring Mr. Ward into the wishes he ended up making. And I only have one thing to say about that. The famous gnome tinkerer, Mr. Steve Jobs, once said, some people say, give the customers what they want, but that's not my approach. Our job is to figure out what they're going to want before they do. You all know of the great dwarven inventor, Mr. Harvey Vord, who invented the self-propelled cart. When Harvey Vord once said, if I'd asked the customers what they wanted, they would have told me a faster horse. People don't know what they want until you show it to them. That's why I never rely on market research. Our task is to read things that are not yet on the page. All of the wishes should remain valid, and I should get a few more slaves. Thank you, your hot ones. I'm out. And then he poof disappears off the map. And that concludes our trial. Let me stop the recording.